Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It's Wednesday, July the 30th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local share market is set to open marginally lower, with ASX futures off by just 7 points. Global equity markets were mixed overnight, with European stocks mostly higher. US stocks closed lower as the S&P 500 and Nasdaq retreated from record highs after some disappointing corporate earnings, while investors await the Federal Reserve policy statement and news on trade talks between the US and China. Health insurer United Health was the biggest drag on the Dow after disappointing profit forecast, and Boeing fell despite reporting a smaller second quarter loss. UPS shares plunged as the package delivery company posted earnings while declining to issue annual revenue and margin forecasts as tariff uncertainty weighs on the company. Whirlpool also tumbled, with the home appliance maker slashing its annual earnings forecast and dividend, citing pressure from a pull forward in imports by rivals ahead of tariffs. Procter & Gamble forecast annual results below estimates and said it would raise prices on some products to offset the tariff impact. Shares of drug maker Merck finished lower as it said it was extending its pause on shipments of HPV vaccine Gardasil to China until at least the end of the year due to persistent weakness in demand. After the bell, Visa beat Wall Street estimates for third quarter profit and revenue. However, the global payments processing company kept its full year forecast for net revenue growth unchanged, sitting its shares 3% lower. And in Europe, shares of Novo Nordisk, those shares have plunged as much as 30% after slashing its financial forecast, after slumping weight loss drug sales led to a profit warning that wiped $143 billion off its market value. Well, US and Chinese officials have agreed to seek an extension of their 90-day tariff truce following 2 days of talks in Stockholm, aimed at diffusing a trade war between the world's two largest economies. And in the latest US data, the country's trade deficit in goods narrowed to the lowest level in nearly 2 years in June, as imports fell sharply in the face of higher tariffs. Consumer confidence improved less than expected in July, and households' perceptions of current job availability were the weakest in nearly 4.5 years, while one-year inflation expectations slipped from 4.9% to 4.7%. And there was a decrease in US job openings and hiring in June, openings dropping more than 250,000 to just shy of 7.5 million. Well, the US 2-year Treasury yield fell to 3.87%, while the 10-year was down to 4.32%. And despite the fall in the yield, the 7-year bond auction was very strong, resulting in record high participation by non-primary dealers. And markets are priced in no chance that the Fed funds rate will be cut by 25 basis points when Fed officials reveal their policy decision tomorrow. US dollar index is up marginally on the day, while the euro has fallen to a 1-month low and the Aussie has fallen to 65.1 US cents, while Bitcoin is trading at around 117,000 US dollars. Oil prices have surged more than 3% as President Trump increased pressure on Russia to end the war with Ukraine, and on optimism that a trade war between the US and its major trading partners is abating. Brent crude futures up 3.5% at $72 a barrel. Copper up marginally, iron ore rising 2% to $101 a tonne, and gold edged higher ahead of the Fed Reserve policy meeting, spot gold at $3,325 an ounce. Locally today, all eyes will be on the release of the Consumer Price Index for the June quarter, which is expected to determine if the Reserve Bank cuts rates at its next meeting. On the corporate calendar are a raft of quarterly reports, including Atlas Arteria, Champion Iron, Deterra, IGO, Mineral Resources, Nickel Mines, PLS, SmartPay, Synlait, and Vulcan Energy. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.